Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamara. Yes, studio audience. Thank you so much for making it do what it do. Baby. Yes. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. For all my new listeners, new episodes drop every Thursday. I usually talk about my life, my interests, and the ways I'm trying to grow. So come on back through, you feel me? And for all of my day 1, 2, 7, 12, 99, 127, whenever you came in, thank you so much for continuing to rock with me. If you're not, you should totally follow me on social media. I will follow back. Yeah, when I say that so we can interact. Like, tweet at me, respond to my other tweets that have nothing to do with this show. Like, that's why I'm saying that. I'm not saying that because I just want a bunch of followers, because I don't really care about all that. You know what I'm saying? But I love the people that I have met on this podcast journey. It's been some of the dopest people. So yeah, subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. And if you're not, you should do that. It literally costs you $0 to support me in that way. And that is something also that if you have a YouTube channel, I will subscribe back when I get that email notification. And the link to all that is in the episode notes. So guys, normally on Sundays, right? Because today is Sunday at the time of this recording. Shout out to 12 Kyle. And if you don't know why I say shout out to 12 Kyle every time I say that, it's because I actually got that from listening to his show. He'll often say at the time of this recording, and sometimes when you just continue to listen to somebody, you just pick up their phrases. But I don't want y'all thinking I came up with that myself, you feel me? So shout out to 12 Cal. But anyways, it is Sunday, right? And normally on Sundays, I go to church, and then I record, and then I go to the knit crew, right? So that's pretty much my standard Sunday right now, and I do whatever else outside of that. But those are usually like the 3 staple things that happen on Sunday. Well, today I did not go to church. I was up super late last night working, just moving out of nowhere, and all that stuff really threw me off. Because like I said, last week, we didn't have anybody scheduled to help us. So it was a lot of back and forth and just all these little hiccups. Because when does moving ever go right? You know what I'm saying? And so it just put me really behind on work. And I just really, with my content, wanted to get back on track. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm having to find this like new normal now that we've moved. And I usually struggle with change, you know what I'm saying? And I've had to kind of like just adjust to the change quickly while still trying to keep up on the stuff that I have to keep up with. So it was kind of a wild week last week. And so I really just wanted to get back in a sense of, yes, my content for the week is done and all that good stuff. So I was up super late last night, and then when I woke up, I technically maybe could have made it to church on time, but I just did not have the energy to even get out of bed, so I just didn't go to church, you know what I'm saying? And so I went to the knit crew today, though, right? So on the way to going to the knit crew, I got pulled over. And I got pulled over because the plates on my daughter's car, so that's whose car I've been driving, are expired. And we found that out like shortly before we moved. But long story short, we ain't even gonna get into all that because that's irrelevant. She wasn't able to get them renewed when I took her to the DMV to do that, right? And so we're like, okay, we'll take care of it later, whatever we'll do. So we, low-key been driving around dirty or whatever. Really me, because I have the car more than her, because I like drop everybody off at work because my clients are not in the home and it's different times throughout the day and throughout the week and whatnot. So I'll drop everybody off at work, do what I got to do, whatever with you. And she doesn't really go to many places besides like her boyfriend's house. So usually it's a drop off type situation, you know what I'm saying? And then pick her up whenever, right? Okay, cool. So I get pulled over, and it's so crazy because I'm driving, I'm in this great mood. Because even though I didn't go to church this morning, I still was in my Bible, had my prayer time. Like, those are the things that are just important to me, period, right? And so I'm in this great mood. I'm driving, and I happen to look up in my rearview mirror, and I just knew that was the police. And I was like, oh, hell no. And so I was about to pray, right? So I'm like, Lord, please don't let. And then I see his lights go off. And then I was like, what the fuck? Excuse my language, because I really try not to be cussing on here. But that's a wild prayer, right? Because it literally went from, Lord, please don't let, what the fuck? Because that is whatever. So I'm like, oh, Lord, I don't really speed. I don't really do anything to get pulled over. So I can't even remember the last time that I got pulled over. But it's crazy because I was so anxious and I was so fearful. And I can't say that I've ever actually felt like scared, you know what I'm saying, getting pulled over. And so I'm looking in my side view mirror and I see the police officer walking up. And it's really weird. I don't know really why he did this, but I saw him, like, I could see where his weapon was. And I saw him, he didn't like put his hand on his weapon like he was about to grab it, but he like touched it. And I didn't, so that like made me scared because I'm like, bruh, is this like what? You know what I'm saying? So he walks up to the car or whatever. So nice. Like, I usually can get a sense of if people are just, I don't want to say like crazy, but you know what I'm saying? The vibes don't lie, or however you want to word it. I call it discernment, but I usually can feel energy and all that. I felt at peace in the sense of I didn't feel like he was on no bull, you know what I mean? He was very respectful. I've never had a police officer say, hello, ma'am, I'm so and so with the Omaha Police Department. I don't even remember what he said his name was, but he was like, I pulled you over because your plates are expired. So this is when, Lord forgive me, I already, did all that, but I'm going to say it publicly on here. I kind of played like, well, first of all, the car is not registered to me, but I kind of played like I didn't know they were expired. I very much did know they were expired because I can't remember how I found out or whatever, and then I told her. But I kind of played like I didn't know that they were expired, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Well, this isn't my car, so I didn't know that." He was like, "Oh, this isn't your car," and I was like, "No, this is my daughter's car." So I gave him my driver's license and I gave him the registration and all that, and then he went back to do his little police thing in the car. And then I text my daughter and I was like, not me getting pulled over. And she's like, dang. And so then, I'm like, I hope this man don't give me a ticket because we don't need that right now. Like, we just moved, whatever. We're gonna take care of her plates, but it be like that sometimes. There have been just a lot of unexpected expenses with moving, you know what I'm saying? And so I guess it's kind of good that when we went to try to take her car to get registered or get the plates renewed, we couldn't because we've needed that money for other stuff, you know what I'm saying? But whatever, we're gonna take care of it, you feel me? Thankfully, since I was driving, she wasn't even in the car, but thankfully, since I was driving and it's not registered to me, he couldn't give me a ticket. And so I was just like, okay, well, thanks. This is her first car. She probably just didn't think about it, which is true. And I was like, I'll let her know or whatever. He was like, all right, well, you have a great rest of your day or whatever, and went off. But it's just so crazy because like I said, I've never felt nervous or fearful. Now, I don't like getting pulled over. Like, who wants to get a ticket or who wants to deal with that? So I don't like that. But this was like different. And it was just, I don't know, it was kind of wild. But went off to the knit crew, you know what I'm saying? I've been working on my scarf. I finally, for the most part, finished my scarf. Like, it's completed, but they're going to teach me how to add the fringes to the end of it next week or whatever. So my scarf is done. I'm excited about that. I'm on to the next scarf, you feel me? Because I just really enjoy knitting. And so she actually requested socks, but I was like, oh, so you want a scarf? Is that what you want? Because we're not there yet, you know what I'm saying? I literally had just started knitting, but I'm going to make her a scarf. And I think if no one ever requests anything, which don't, you know what I'm saying? Don't request a scarf. But if no one requests anything, I think I'm just gonna make scarves because I just like knitting. It's very relaxing. It allows me to like shut out everything else and just focus on knitting, and then also seeing my progress. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me to have just picked back up knitting after over a decade of not knitting, I still don't remember why I stopped. Nevertheless, I was able to make that scarf, and it's not like I knit every day because I there are just days that I can't or whatever. But I was able to make that scarf in about a month, so that's not too bad. I feel like now that we're more settled and we're in our home and I can have my schedule the way I want it with other things, I think I'll have more time to knit because I actually like yesterday I was like feeling stressed or whatever in the midst of working, you know what I'm saying? Because it was a struggle because I was playing catch up and then still had to do the regular stuff that I would do on Saturday or whatever. So it was a long day. But I remember taking a knitting break because I was just like, bruh, I need to like pause and come back to this. And that's actually, I forget what week of teaching I was teaching, but that's actually a really good thing to do is like complete a task or set a time limit. I think, was it time management? I don't remember, but it's actually really good to like set a time limit for how long you're going to work on something and then take a quick break, you know what I'm saying? So I literally took a 5-minute knitting break and then decide if you're going to come back to the task, which I of course had to, or decide if you're going to move on to something else, because when you do that, like pause and take that break, sometimes coming back after you're refreshed, you could be a little more focused, and sometimes it helps to give you like a fresh perspective on the task and like complete it better, which that did help for me, you know what I'm saying? So that's some free game on time management, or I don't even remember what week of teaching I just read that article or whatever. So yeah, knitting, it's literally like one of my favorite things to do, and I'm going to be working on this new scarf. And if you follow me on social media, I have been posting kind of like knitting updates just because people seem to be interested in that. I don't know. This is just me sharing my life, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to get better at sharing more than just podcast stuff or Timber the Dawn Ink stuff or Melanin Intoxicate stuff, you know, and all that good stuff. So, this is where we are, guys. I'm in this new house. I'm trying to find this new normal. I am so. I can't even express how grateful I am to be just in my own space again, right? It's just so dope that I'm right now in my studio. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is going to be just the studio. At first, I was going to make it a studio slash sitting area for other stuff. But when I really think about envisioning what this space is gonna do and look like and all that, nope, it's just the studio. So I'll record in here, of course, and work in here or whatever. And it's just so dope to be in my own space again. Like, I literally look around or walk around this house and I'm like, is this real? Like, not even just in my own space again, but like, do we really live here? Because it's just, we live in this neighborhood that I just would have never thought anytime soon that we would live in a neighborhood like this, that we would live in a house like this. It's really like this like mini mansion that I just am like, wow, God, you really did your thing. You know what I'm saying? You really honored what you said when you said that the house that you had for us was better than the little itty bitty apartment that probably wasn't even the size of one level of this house, or I don't know, it was a small apartment. But yes, y'all, it has been kind of interesting finding a new normal. I live further away from my clients now. So even with that, when I have to go meet with the subcontracting clients, it's a further drive. So I have to allot for that. It is closer to Janae's job though. So that's nice because she's the one that has to be to work at 9 o'clock in the morning. So now there's like a shorter drive or whatever. It is really interesting though that, so, and I won't say interesting, it actually really sucks, but it just is what it is, and there's nothing I can do about it. And so I just trust God to provide as He has provided many, many times over and over again. So this little next section will kind of lead into my first weekly wisdom and what God has been teaching me in the last week. One of which is just continuing to trust that He is the same yesterday, tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if he provided this dope house, that means that I can trust him to provide new furniture. Let's get into it. So, our stuff has been in storage for 18 months, right? So the whole time that we've been in this state of transition, our stuff has been in the same storage unit. It's a storage unit that I've used before. It's one of them climate controlled or whatever ones. At first, my dad was paying for it because he just volunteered to do that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then after a while, I, of course, paid for it or whatever. But it's a climate controlled one. Never had any issues. Like, we've gone there many different times to get stuff or whatever. And I was literally just there not too long ago. I want to say within the last couple weeks to go grab some of my hoodies. You know what I'm saying? Because last winter I was working from home. And so I wasn't really going out here in these streets. And so I wasn't really worried about hoodies or whatever. But now that I'm going places quite often, I have to leave basically Monday through Friday to go meet with a client. Not complaining, very grateful. Shout out to the money that I'm making, you know what I'm saying? But now that I'm going out in the streets more, I'm out here, you know what I'm saying? We outside, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Penrose. But I was like, okay, let me go get some of my hoodies because, it's getting into winter, it's cold. So I was just there like within the last couple weeks or so to go get my hoodies, right? And so then after we got the keys and we did whatever and we brought most of the stuff from my mom's house here, I went to go to the storage unit, right? Looking around, whoop-de-woo. Y'all, I don't know how or why or whatever, and honestly it doesn't matter, but there were mouse droppings, not everywhere, but kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like, in boxes that were open and just all this stuff on my mattress, you know what I'm saying? And even though there's a mattress protector over it, nah, no. Like, the way they disrespected my mattress, like, you had to go to the bathroom that much, all on my mattress, like, ugh. So, that said, whatever has mouse droppings on it, goodbye. You know what I'm saying? And I told the girls, because this affects me and the girls, because Devon wasn't living with us when our stuff went into storage. So none of his stuff was in storage. You know what I'm saying? And so this only affects me and Kayliana and Janae. And so I told them once I realized what was going on or whatever, I'm like, be prepared to have to let things go and just trust that God will provide. Because I did cry about it because, like, I don't even like bugs. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I just felt so violated and so disgusted and so sad. You know what I'm saying? But there's literally nothing I could have done about it because my stuff had to be in storage and I've used them before and I've never had any problems. And so I know that you can't always control what other people bring in. But I'm just like, bruh, like, why? And so, I cried and I prayed about it, and like the Lord has told me that He will provide to replace, and I just have to trust that, right? And so I told the girls, and I'm like, be prepared to have to let things go. And as God brought us into this house, like, trust that He will provide, you know what I'm saying? And so it's a little annoying, a lot of annoying. It's, bruh, you know what I'm saying? But God will provide, you know what I'm saying? We all have air mattresses, so we all are at least have something to sleep on. I have my work stuff. We've been making it work with not really, like, I have one pan, and so I bake some chicken whatever day, but then we have like chicken and noodles because I don't have any pots or other pans or whatever here. And so then when I was talking to my friend yesterday, I really was thinking, like, it's not like, so, like, some of my dishes and stuff I have literally had since I was 19 when my granny bought me my first dish set. It's not like any of that stuff is anything that, like, I just bought. I've accumulated a lot of stuff, like, over the years from the age of 19. And so I'm just kind of like, well, we'll just buy new stuff and salvage what we can that does not have any mouse droppings anywhere around it. Because I did see that there are boxes that are open that don't have anything in them. So, but it's just going to be this slower thing of having to like go through it, figure out what we can keep, what we can't. And I'm literally just going to leave the stuff that we can't keep there. Because while they can't control necessarily who brings what, I don't care. We've never had mice. You know what I'm saying? That's something we've never had. And we definitely didn't have them when we brought them in there. And I know for a fact a few weeks ago when I was there weren't any mice or mouse droppings or any of that stuff in there. So it's kind of like, it is what it is. It's frustrating, but there's always something in life, right? You know what I'm saying? Even though we had this dope thing happen where we got this nice house, life is not without its problems. And so that leads me to the next point, which is just kind of another thing the Lord has been kind of teaching me is the importance of just like continuing to rely on Him, but more so like continuing to just be in relationship with Him, because it's kind of like life is going life is going life is going life. You know what I'm saying? Life is going to do its thing, but it's my relationship with Him and it's time with Him and it's peace that I get from my time with Him and all that good stuff that allows me to just keep going despite the trials that we go through. Like that's how I was literally able to not only start a business, but grow it and add all these different things all while in transition, because all of that happened after we left our apartment. Like we were in transition for 18 months, but Tamara the Dawn Inc. didn't start 18 months ago. We were in transition for 18 months, but Melon Intoxicate is barely a year old. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, that's the only reason that I was able to just keep going. And yes, there was a lot of crying in that transition stage, like for real, for real. I've probably cried more in that 18 months of transition than I have ever cried in my life. But also, there was a lot of soul searching. There was a lot of healing because I had a lot more time to just think about myself and reflect and whatever. Because at first I wasn't as busy as I am with my company. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to my mom for that 18. Well, I wasn't with her for 18 months, but shout out to my mom that I was with her when my former employer made me make that choice, because I was able to make the choice that I made because I didn't have to consider rent at that time. I wouldn't have made the choice to walk away from that job if I was paying rent at that time. So it's kind of like, it's interesting how it all worked out in my favor. And this is where the Bible doesn't say that all things that happen to us are good, but it says that all things work together for our good for those who love Him and are called according to His purposes and blah, blah, blah. That's Romans 8:28 if you want to look it up yourself. And so with that, you know what I'm saying? He's really just been showing me that, man, investing in my relationship with Him is like, even if I choose to spend time with Him over doing something else. Now, I'm not saying I'm not responsible as a business owner and all that good stuff, but I'm saying that the time that I make sure that I spend with Him, like earlier I told y'all I got pulled over, right? But I started my day with time with Him. I may have reacted to that situation differently if I had not already invested in my spiritual health. Because that's literally why I invest in my relationship with the Lord. Because for me, that's what helps ensure that I'm spiritually healthy, which is important, which is why I always talk about being mentally, emotionally, and spiritually healthy, right? And so that's kind of been like this past week of us being in this new house, but it's not without its problems. Just all these like it's so funny. I knew that when I chose to move into this house that they were going to have to redo the basement. Like she told me that right away. For whatever reason, I did not think it was something that was going to be happening right away. For whatever reason, I must have misunderstood. But I also didn't ask a ton of questions because I didn't even know if we was going to get approved for this house, honestly, because there were so many places that wanted me on my own to make. I don't even understand why you have to make 3 times the rent, but whatever. So they didn't collectively look at everybody's income as we're all adults, you know what I'm saying, moving into this house. they would look at just mine. And it was just really interesting because I'm just thinking, like, if I didn't know we could pay for the rent, why would I even try to move here? Like, we could pay more for rent than what we're paying now. But if we did that, it would be like that's all we're doing is paying rent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I specifically put our rent cap at what I put it at, to where, one, I'm paying the larger portion of all the bills or whatever. Yes, my kids are contributing, but I'm paying the larger portion. But I also don't want to be in a situation where we can't, like, do things that we want to do. You know what I'm saying? And so it's very interesting how all of that was going. And so I wasn't even really sure if we were going to get approved, and so I didn't ask a ton of questions. But here we are, guys. They're doing work in the basement. And I'm like, okay, so hopefully it's not too loud. I mean, there are high ceilings in this house, so the basement is like far away, you know what I'm saying, in the grand scheme of things. Hopefully it works out. There's literally nothing I can do about it. So, like I said, life is going to life. There's always going to be something. But, like, with God as my constant, it's like I could deal with the stuff that I have to deal with. So, yeah, that's all I got for y'all this week. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Physically is what I'm about to get back on this week. By the time this airs, I will have already started. I'm starting my workout journey back up. Snatch 40s, here we go. There just wasn't the space to do it at my mom's house. Especially, there was a point when Kayliana and I were sharing a room towards the end. And so it was too much. And I was just like, I'm going to wait till I move. Well, I have plenty of space in my room now to work out in my room. And then once the basement is finished, we plan to make that a game room. And then there's this closed off space that has a bathroom, and it even has a shower, to where we're going to make that the workout room or whatever. But in the meanwhile, I could work out in my room. So physically healthy is what I'm getting back on. But y'all, these steps that I have, there's like 2 flights of steps or whatever to get from the main floor to our room. So if I forget something downstairs, or if I want water, if I want whatever, I'm up and down these stairs a lot anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I've already kind of started it just by living here. You know what I'm saying? But also make sure that you are healthy in your relationships, because that's super important too. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for